So now it's my pleasure to be able to introduce someone that you already know because he's been moderating panels. Patrick Verhoeven is the Managing Director for Policy and Strategy for the International Association of Ports and Harbors. Mr. Verhoeven has more than 20 years of experience in international port and shipping organizations based in Europe. The International Association of Ports and Harbors is a nonprofit global alliance of 170 ports and 140 maritime companies representing 90 countries. The IAPH is dedicated to fostering cooperation among ports and harbors and promoting the vital role they play. Based in Tokyo, this association has consultative NGO status from the United Nations and is active in developing international trade and maritime policy. Member ports of the International Association of Ports and Harbors handle about 70% of the world's container traffic and more than 60% of all international maritime trade. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Patrick Verhoeven.
Thank you very much, Secretary of State. When you're invited to a conference and they give you the slot just after lunch, then you always think, oh no, it's the graveyard slot where you have to keep people awake. Actually, I think this is far worse because I have to keep you from the lunch, and I hear your stomachs grumbling up to here. We've been going since 8:30 this morning, so I'll try to make this presentation into a kind of an elevator pitch, make it as snappy as possible. What I wanted to do to you today is to briefly introduce you to a new initiative that we started a couple of months ago, which is the World Port Sustainability Program. And actually the roots of that program go back to the United States, because the predecessor of this program was the World Port Climate Initiative, which we launched as IPH back in 2008 in Los Angeles. And that was the first time that world ports came together to say, what can we do jointly in the fight against climate change, but also what can we do jointly in working together to improve air quality. And that program led to a number of projects, including Environmental Ship Index, which I think Lee was referring to this morning. We've developed projects on LNG bunkering and on onshore power supply. A couple of years ago, people said, okay, we've been having this program now for some years, the projects they are running, they're being used by ship owners and other parties, but let's see if we can take things one step further and move beyond climate, energy and environment and go really into sustainability in a much broader sense of the word. And that was around that time when the United Nations developed its own Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 goals that were adopted back in 2015. And that was actually the reason, or the initiative, or the background, if you like, for upgrading the World Port Climate Initiative that was founded in LA in 2008 to a World Port Sustainability Program. And really this is about two things. It's first of all about showing as a community that we care about sustainability, that we want to take up leadership. But secondly, this program is also meant to help and empower port community actors to work with other stakeholders to make sure that they create value-added, sustainable value-added for the local community and the wider region that they are located in. So what do we want to do with this program? Actually, it starts with the evident issue. It's collecting good practices, collecting projects, initiatives from ports all over the world and make them available to others. It's about sharing information, exactly what we've been doing here today, I think, in this conference, through an online tool that I will just show you in a minute. We work not alone as IPH. I will show you who our partners are. We work with a number of other organizations, including the AAPA, the American Association of Port Authorities. And with the program, we want to set up a kind of portal where our various initiatives that these associations are taking are also available to the global community. That's, if you like, one important focus. The other focus is, of course, to look ahead and to see where are there areas that at the moment perhaps there is not that much cooperation around the globe, and where can we work together as a sort of think tank in looking at innovative solutions for the future. And last but not least, we also wanted to engage in reporting to the global community out there what ports are doing in terms of sustainability. So these are the objectives. The 17 goals, well, they cover almost anything. They are very broad. They cover issues like poverty, hunger, health, education, climate change, gender equality, water, urbanization, environment, and social justice. So that's quite a lot that is out there. What we did is we tried to find 5 major themes where we think the port sector can contribute to the achievement of these goals. And first and foremost, that is about infrastructure, making sure that infrastructure is future-proof. That means adapt to developments in the shipping industry. It means adapt to new developments in trade. Think of Belt and Road. Think of the Northern Passage, I think you were referring to, Pete. Think also to adaptation to climate and weather, and we heard a number of examples here today. Think also about digitization of the supply chain. A second theme is the one that we started with, is climate and energy, but obviously there we have new challenges ahead now that the IMO has set up its strategy for shipping with a target of 50% reduction by 2050. That will also involve the ports and see how we can facilitate, let's say, this strategy for the shipping industry. Safety and security, an important field, including issues like cybersecurity, and community outreach and port-city dialogue. And I heard many good examples here today at this conference of what you're doing in the ports, what you're doing here in Baltimore, what you're doing in Seattle and Tacoma to reach out to your local community. I think it's a very important field as well. And finally, governance and ethics is a very important field, I think, all over the world where we can work towards achieving these goals. So that's the kind of framework under which that we work. This is the organization. There's a lot of alphabet soup here on this slide. But basically, we're working together with regional port organizations in America, the AAPA, in Europe, the European Seaports Organization. And then you have a number of related organizations that either specialize in port-city dialogue, which is IVP, in engineering, which is PIANC, IADC, which is a dredging organization, and ICHCA, which are cargo handling companies. All of these organizations have signed up to a common declaration where we state our commitment to work towards achieving these goals, and our role as IPH is to lead and coordinate that program. And the idea is that indeed we support each other, we promote each other's projects, and that individually these organizations of course provide guidance, support and recognition to their members. The program was launched in March in Antwerp, at the Port of Antwerp, and you see on the left top there the iconic new port building, the new building of the Port Authority. And we were very fortunate to have a number of VIPs at this event, including the Queen Mathilde of Belgium, who is one of the 17 United Nations SDG advocates. Maybe you don't know Queen Mathilde that well, maybe you know some others that are among these advocates. You probably know Leo Messi, and you probably know Shakira. These are some of the celebrities that stand behind the promotion of the United Nations SDGs. We got our Queen to come, and we also got the Secretary General of the IMO, Mr. Kita Klim, who you see at the left bottom picture, was present there as well at this very ceremonial but also content-wise very strong launch event that was hosted by the Port of Antwerp. The declaration was signed there among the partners, and we also launched the website, and if technology permits, I think we can just take a very brief look at what is in there. And if we look at portfolio, you will see what we're trying to do in the first phase is to gather examples and best practices, and you can scroll down on the screen and you see that you can choose whether you look for individual port projects, and let's do that. Click on those, and then you'll be able to see normally a map where we already have a number of projects that are indicated from different ports. And if you scroll down further, you see some of the examples here, initiatives in Panama, in Auckland, all kinds of various issues related to sustainability. You can filter those. If you're interested only in climate change, you get the projects only related to climate change. If you're interested in gender equality, you can look at those. And really scrolling down all the way, what my main message here in my elevator pitch, it's a very high building, I understand, a long elevator ride, but really my message to you is please submit your projects. I mean, the idea is that we get as many good examples from ports all over the world in this broad range of topics that come into this database, so that it's really a meaningful tool for ports, but also I think for the general public. I think we can go back to you can submit them online, so there is a form there. And if we, now it's back to me to move the slides. That is one part, as I said, is collecting all this information. The second is to look ahead and see what we can do towards the future. What kind of new areas under these 5 themes can we work on? And we had a first start again in Antwerp on the second day of the conference, where we had a number of brainstorm sessions, workshops, where people from the port sector all over the world joined with universities, with NGOs, with government people to do brainstorming on these topics, to say what is really missing, what are topics where collectively we can work together. And that delivered a fantastic basis of output, all kinds of ideas, some crazy ideas, some very innovative ideas, but very good basis to work on. And that is exactly where we're now starting the second stage of the program with our partners, is to see from all that input that we gathered and from our own work programs, what can we identify as priorities, where can we work on together. And that will be the second phase also of the website, where we look at future-related projects under the 5 headings of WPSP. And we hope that we have a first report to present in 2019, and we hope that we will be able to do that in London during the London International Shipping Week, which is in middle of September, and hopefully we can also do that at the IMO. You know that the current Secretary General of the IMO is a former port executive. It's a former Director General of the Port of Busan. He was a member of IPH, so we will call on his door and knock on his door to make sure that our first report can be presented in London in September 19. And that was, ladies and gentlemen, my extended elevator pitch, and I think now it's time to eat.
Thank you, Patrick, and for those wonderful remarks.